Hello, fight fans. Seattle Mike fights with friends. Everybody, please hit that like button, or I will make you watch Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza 2 on loop until your eyes bleed. Make sure you're subscribed and don't forget to double tap that notification bell so you're notified every time we drop a new video, or go live like this Saturday for UFC Rosenstruck versus Volkov. Hi guys, today I want to talk a little bit about Mike Tyson and Jake Paul. Those names have been thrown out there recently. Mike Tyson, of course, has not had a sanctioned battle that's gone on his record for quite some time, almost 20 years now. Jake Paul has 5 professional fights now. I'm not sure if all of them are listed professional. I think some of them maybe went to exhibition. But he's done much better than I thought he would. When the Paul brothers came in, I said, these guys are not going to respect the sport. They're not going to work hard, and they're not going to fight real fighters. Well, they proved me wrong on every single one of those things. They have worked hard. They have respected the sport. And no matter what you think about their motives, they have spoken up for fighters' pay and some other good things. So the Paul brothers have definitely surprised me. Jake getting in there with the likes of Tyron Woodley twice. Like I said, Logan Paul, respect getting in there with Floyd Mayweather Jr., going the distance and having his moments in that kind of weird exhibition bout. Now, should Jake Paul fight Mike Tyson? For the answer to that, I would take you back to June 17th, 1980, when a very popular former champion, Muhammad Ali, was coming back 2 years removed from having the championship. Larry Holmes was champion starting in 1978. And this fight was believed to be seen by as many as 2 billion viewers. Still a record to this day, the most watched fight in history. Muhammad Ali versus Larry Holmes. And the former sparring partner, Larry Holmes, beat Muhammad Ali literally senseless. I mean, it was the fight that turned a lot of people away from boxing. I mean, completely. Howard Cosell, after that fight, he was friends with Muhammad Ali, said he would never watch another boxing match again, felt really bad about having anything to do with the Holmes-Ali fight. Larry Holmes would never recover from becoming public enemy #1, although he would be champion for 7 years from 1978 to 1985. He could never sell tickets, he could never sell pay-per-view, and he could never get out from under the stink of destroying everyone's hero. Now, of course, for a very long time, Mike Tyson was not a lot of people's heroes. And maybe even a lot of people didn't think that he was maybe the greatest person. There's still some people out there, I suppose. But Mike Tyson, looking in hindsight, watching him in the movies and things now, watching him on his podcast, his playful mannerisms, his deep thinking, and everything he's done, he's got a lot more fans than detractors nowadays. He's even done the Mike Tyson animated series, the Mike Tyson Mystery Show. He was on Shark Week on Discovery, which was a huge deal. He even had an exhibition bout against Roy Jones Jr. Mike Tyson, I believe, is one of, if not the most gifted athletes to ever enter not only boxing, but maybe combat sports. He was able to take that body at 12 years old, 190 pounds, and go in there and knock out full-grown men, all the way to today, where you've seen impressive training video of Mike Tyson at 55 years old, whipping himself back into shape, both body and mind, and really putting out some pretty intimidating videos, and some of his workouts, hitting the pad, exercising, and definitely extremely impressive for a 55-year-old man. Now, there was talks back and forth. At first, Mike said he wouldn't fight Jake. Somebody asked Jake, would you fight Mike Tyson? Jake's like, hell yeah, I would. I said, why? He says, everybody has his time. everybody has their time, and Father Time is undefeated, and he's correct on that. Jake Paul gets in there, he's gonna be faster. He's not gonna have the same kind of boxing knowledge. He's not gonna have that peekaboo style. I don't know how many of you have seen recent training videos of Mike Tyson and Henry Cejudo as he's teaching Cejudo the peekaboo style. And for those that are interested in learning more about the peekaboo style, or how to put that into your own training, there's some great videos out there on that. And that was probably one of my favorite boxing trainers ever, actually, is when Tyson's working with Cejudo and showing him the ins and outs of that style and how he used it to become one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time. But when you look at a guy like Jake Paul, the Paul brothers, especially Jake more so, I mean, they were hated. A lot of their popularity came from being hated. Some people loved him, some people hated him. But probably more people hated him. And the boxing crowd was definitely not in any hurry to give these guys any chance whatsoever. They have turned a lot of that around. I know they still have their detractors. They also have a lot of fans. They have a lot of people that may never be fans, but they say, hey, I respect those guys. They work hard. And that's kind of the camp I fall into nowadays. Now, they have talked about a possible $1 billion contract in the last couple of weeks for Jake Paul to fight Mike Tyson. I don't see mathematically how this is possible, how anybody makes any money, especially if one of the things I've seen that it would be just Mike Tyson, just Tyson getting $1 billion. I mean, you would literally have to break that record of the 2 billion views that Larry Holmes versus Muhammad Ali got, the most watched fight of all time. They estimate 2 billion people watched Larry Holmes versus Muhammad Ali. And of course, as we said, that's why Larry Holmes is so hated today. Jake Paul, you want to lose all of the progress you've made and then some, go in there and fight Mike Tyson. Because if you lose, you lost to a 55-year-old man past his prime that hasn't fought an actual sanctioned fight outside of an exhibition in almost 20 years. You beat Mike Tyson, you're going to become more hated than Larry Holmes because of where you started out at. And, at the end of the day, with YouTube and things now, 2 billion people may end up watching that fight if it were to ever happen. I just don't see how it's a good move any way around for Jake. Like I said, you get knocked out by Tyson, you got knocked out by a 55-year-old man. You knock out Mike Tyson, everybody hates you. Most boxing fans gonna hate you forever. I mean, the only win-win is they get in there, they do some kind of back and forth exhibition like Roy Jones Jr. and Tyson did a few years ago. I looked forward to that exhibition. I was thoroughly disappointed that they kind of sold it to be something that it wasn't. Same thing with Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather. And I do feel like the public's appetite for these exhibition fights that are not actual real fights and nobody's trying to knock the other fighter out, I think that appetite is dying, if not dead. I mean, I don't even know if I would watch this fight. It was an exhibition, and I watch almost every fight. I want to know what you guys think, though. First, let's make a prediction. If these two guys fight, if they end up going in there and they end up squaring out, I do feel like Tyson's going to have the edge here, especially if you make it 3-minute rounds. I just think that boxing IQ and the defense of slipping where Jake isn't, and Jake's cardio has not been very good, even though he is older, Tyson's going to be on all the Mexican supplements. I mean, they both most likely are, but you get Tyson, HGH, TRT, whatever it takes to turn the clock back a little bit And we've seen in some of those training videos, it's like he gets in places where he can hit you and you can't hit him. And I just don't see in 5 fights Jake being smart enough to figure Tyson out. I don't think he's going to be able to hit him very many times. I think it's just going to end up being an IQ thing. And like I said, Jake is going to be faster. I mean, he should be 25 years younger, 30 years younger. But I just don't see him getting past Mike. I think eventually Mike, my prediction would be, say if you go 8 rounds, make this 3-minute 8 rounds. I think Tyson knocks him out with a right hand in the 6th round after punishing him. And I really don't think Jake has very many moments. I mean, he might pick up a round if Tyson decides to take a rest in maybe the 4th or the 5th to run it at a later knockout. But I want to know what you guys think. Who do you think wins this fight? Should this fight happen? Is it a lose-lose for Jake? As I say, I'm really curious what you guys think. As always, I love you. I respect you. And I'll see your fine asses next time.